Well, someone got suspended over the Muslim exhibit at Wylie East High School. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Welcome to the big show. And we're starting off today. I know, good to see you too. Starting off today with a continuing story that on Monday evening, a lot of us who are terminally online, sorry, I'm one of them. A lot of us saw a viral video of some kid claiming to be from Wylie East High School saying a Muslim group had set up a table and they were proselytizing. They were handing out Qurans. Here's like a little gift bag. Here's a pamphlet on why Islam. And here, if you want to oppress the woman in your life, here's a hijab. Make her wear a headscarf, just like we force them to do in Muslim countries. Isn't that great? Just a constant reminder of inequality. A lot of people didn't like that, rightfully so. So a fuss was made on Tuesday. And then yesterday, someone got suspended. So I don't know if this is the punishment we were hoping for or what was necessary or is even legit, or someone just going to be, are they suspended with pay? Are they just getting a couple days off and then when this blows over, they're going to keep their job? Or is there real action happening here? For those of you who missed the last couple of days, I can recreate it for you real quick. Here is the video that got everyone's attention in the first place. The kid's name is Marco. He looks like he's 17.
Hello, tell me the story. What happened today at school?
Okay, so I'm Marco. I'm the president of the high school Republicans at Wylie East High School. And today there was an organization called Why Islam that had a huge table booth in the front of our school today, and they were giving hijabs to Muslim girls out throughout the high school, and they were giving out Qurans, and they also had pamphlets about Sharia law and other Islamic things, and they were giving out these bags. And I had a discussion with the women that were there, and we're trying to understand what's going on.
Was everybody in a hijab?
So they were passing out to as much, girls as they could. So that was their goal.
How many students took those bags?
I don't have an exact number of how many people took them, but I can say that they were trying to get as much out as they could.
And it was during the school day, right?
Yes, it was during lunch.
During lunch.
And we typically have colleges come out, or we have our clubs have tables, but we've never had a faith group, to my understanding.
So Christians have never been allowed to come?
Not from what I've seen. I've never seen churches or Bibles passed out. I can't confirm that that's 100%, but what I can say is that this was a big thing that they wanted to push out today.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me know.
Thank you.
And the update this morning from WFAA, someone, I don't know who, got suspended. I don't know the details, how long they're suspended, if they're going to get their job back, if they're being paid. Here's what they shared. Here's the 2-minute update from WFAA this morning.
A booth set up this week here at Wylie East High School is getting a lot of scrutiny. The group, called Why Islam, we're told, focuses on education.
They have a Muslim Students Association who actually sponsored the event.
Jacques Jones is the chairman of the high school Republicans. He found out when a colleague posted this video.
And they were giving hijabs to Muslim girls out throughout the high school.
Parents who are sending their kids to schools in the state of Texas with the presumption that they're going to get a good education, they don't expect their kids to come home with a Quran and hijab on their head.
The district tells us the booth was open to all students during lunch. There were materials on the table like the Quran, even stations for henna designs, and to try on a headscarf. Mustafa Carroll with the Council on American Islamic Relations says the booth was informational.
They don't proselytize and they don't press anybody to take anything. As long as it's student-led, that's a whole different story.
The district sent this letter home to families, regretting what happened, said the group did not have approval to distribute materials, and guest speakers can only speak directly to student clubs in a classroom where all parents have signed permission forms. This situation is not about religion, politics, ideology, or any personal belief system. It is about a procedural breakdown. If proper protocols had been followed, this incident would not have occurred. We take that very seriously. Mistakes were made, and we take full responsibility.
It's not that it offends anybody. My concern is that parents were not acknowledged. They were not aware that this was happening.
Carroll tells us Why Islam has been to a number of schools, and it's no different than Christian organizations holding similar booths.
The outrage is that any and everything Muslim these days has been vilified.
And they also had pamphlets about Sharia law.
We have heard from the families of Muslim students and through Jones, the Young Republicans. Both groups tell us they're concerned for their safety. The district says it remains committed to protecting the students and complying with law.
All right, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we're going to point out some weird double standards in our society that make this story so damn interesting here because right now you and I are both wondering where's all the separation of church and state people? Where's all the people who are losing their minds and their hair was on fire because we were going to put the 10 Commandments on a poster in the classroom? Not proselytizing, doesn't even mention Jesus in there. It's not even Christian specific. It's just like, oh, we can't have religion intertwined with the public schools. That's a constitutional violation. And they're silent on issues like this at the same time. And we'll dig a little bit more into this on the other side of the break. But aren't these people like scared of the Handmaid's Tale constantly and worrying that we're following to some oppressive theocracy where some religious zealots are going to take over and force us to all wear headscarves and make the women dress modestly and walk around in flowing robes? Hello, you have people who are putting headscarves on your daughters right now, on young ladies right now. Isn't this fun? Little fantasy camp, little dry run for your oppressive future in a real patriarchy. No complaints about them, no outcry. In fact, they embrace this. They bring it and they show it to your kids and then they try and hide it from you. What is going on? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins, three funny guys that are going to be on for 3 hours as soon as I'm done here between my two shifts today. But our top stories of the day, except for the City Hall one, seem to center around the immigration issue in some form or fashion, because I was just playing you the issue of the Muslim exhibit, proselytizing, handing out headscarves at Wylie East High School. The big story yesterday was the response to the Frisco City Council meeting where a bunch of people showed up and voiced their concerns. It was a packed house, and their concern is on the immigration front, the H-1B, at least abuse, if not outright fraud, that is transforming Frisco in ways that should be concerning to basically everyone. And the other big story today is this proposed immigration center, the ICE detention facility that may be put in Hutchins. Now, a couple things before we actually get into the bones of that story. There was another story that was on WFAA where they were talking about how they were teaching kids to be aware of media bias. And you know what? I love those lessons, and we should spend a little bit more time on lessons like that, because the last lesson the last package you just heard was a pretty good balance. It had a guy that was the head of the student Republican club at Wylie, and it also, you heard sound bites from the local, I think it was CARE or the Muslim organization. So you had a spokesman from both sides. Both points were presented. Later in the show, I'm going to play you their package about the City Hall demolition debate. We're waiting on a report that's supposed to come back in like 3 weeks. And some sides say, well, we need to tear it down. The other side says we definitely don't need to tear it down. And they present both sides. Here's one that fails the sniff test. This is a good sign that you might not be getting straight news. There may be a tinge of propaganda in there if there's only one side of the story presented. Now, I'm not beating up WFAA. Hell, most of their reports are fantastic. And you can guarantee that you're going to get good reporting when it's something that's not politically polarizing. Tearing down City Hall, that's not a left or right issue. That's not a Republican or Democrat issue. You're going to get great reporting on that. Right here, when we talk about something that is ICE related, it's the most political hot button issue of the day. You're only going to get one side of this. And I usually wouldn't play you a 2.5 minute news package because we try and keep the sound bites smaller, but I just want to play you the whole thing so you know I didn't edit this out and take out a context where they presented the other side. Because the other side of this debate that they're not going to talk about is if they do put a 9,500 capacity facility in Hutchins, how many jobs will that create? How many new businesses will come in necessarily to support that? How many people will have to be suppliers for this? How many people are going to do the laundry and going to provide the food service and the janitorial service? And someone's got to pop up the concrete in the parking lot and replace the water main that busted. Another thing they're not going to tell you here is there's already a building there. It already has water. It already has sewage. It's already been used. It is not going to be a strain on the infrastructure above and beyond what it already is. It's already there. They're just going to convert a really big building. I'm talking like 1 million square feet. So I just want to tell you what's not in this soundbite before I play it. And that'll be kind of frustrating here. Because how many times do you see stories in the news where they're begging companies to come here? This is going to bring in so many jobs. This is going to add to the tax base. This is going to bring in so many suppliers and other ancillary jobs that are connected to it. It's going to generate this X amount, millions of dollars in economic activity per year. Do you hear any of that in this story? Or do you just hear completely one side?
Candidates are up in arms over a possible ICE facility in Hutchins.
So here is where the Washington Post reports that facility could go. The building is just off I-45. The shaded area is where many of the residents in the city live. It's also not far from Hutchins High School. Our investigative team has been working to find documents to back up the Washington Post report, but haven't found any so far.
But it's clearly struck a chord with city officials and people who live there. Brittany Moncrief is live tonight in Hutchins to show us what's happening now.
Well, right now inside Hutchins City Hall, City Council is having a special meeting after those concerns that ICE might be building or might be converting a warehouse here in the area into a detention center. Now, residents and lawmakers have all gathered right behind me in protest. not far from where we're standing.
My house was the first house on the street.
Marcella Balcom has watched the city of Hutchins grow.
This city hall is brand new. Like, I've seen all of this come up.
But still, living in southern Dallas County more than 20 years.
Stuff that doesn't need to come south, comes south.
She says like the possibility of an ICE detention center.
Just throw it south, they'll take it. Like that, it's something. No, we want more than just something. We want grocery stores. We want parks.
This is the proposed building, currently owned by P.S. Hutchins Phase 2 LLC. The nearly 1 million square foot property could hold up to 9,500 people, which is more than the city's current population.
I know they can't sustain from the infrastructure side of it.
Dallas County Commissioner John Wylie Price says you have to think about sewage and water.
You got a safety issue there. You can't just put people in a warehouse.
Plus the economic impact from property taxes.
You're talking about $1.7 million tax hit.
Through multiple government sources, WFAA has not confirmed any deed or documents suggesting ICE has purchased this land. Hutchins mayor says they've received no documentation or communication from the federal government either. The city also says they would not support an ICE facility, while Governor Greg Abbott's office says he fully supports every tool and strategy of the administration's deportation efforts.
You're being zealous about local governments.
And from the residents to the federal government.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch. I'll be here.
And here they are protesting and speaking out, voicing their concerns. Now, we're told by Commissioner Price that the meeting taking place with council will most likely be fully an executive session. They're expected to meet with their lawyers to talk about what options they might have if that warehouse is purchased by ICE.
All right, so let's go through all the things missing there. And if you have anything to add to this, I think this is a great exercise when we talk about, critical thinking skills. I don't think people really understand what the term critical thinking skills are. People think critical like, oh, we have a critical water supply or we have a critical electricity supply. Something is critical to something else means that you would die without it. That's not what we mean when we say critical thinking. When we say critical thinking, we mean the ability to critique it. That means the ability to take an information and go, nah, that doesn't make any sense. I don't believe you. Being able to be critical. But why wouldn't you want thousands of illegals in Hutchins? Haven't we been told that they're safer and less criminal than us evil, stupid, local native Texans? Aren't they more productive and contribute to the tax base? It's just, widows and orphans, just sweet little families, so we don't want to separate them. Where are we supposed to put them? Nowhere. Sounds like you just don't want us to enforce laws. It sounds like you just don't want us to enforce immigration laws, more specifically. We don't want this. We want new grocery stores. Well, if you have a 9,500 detention facility capacity and all the employees that come with that, you're going to get new grocery stores if you allow this facility to happen. Watch. Oh, we're just worried about the sewage and water. No, you're not. No, that's a pitiful, pathetic excuse, and we know it. Because y'all don't say that when it's time to build a new football stadium, when you want the Cowboys to come to Arlington, or you want to build some immaculate, giant football stadium that's just for high schools. I mean, you've seen some of the places where high schools play around here. It's amazing. Anyone ever, I don't know if the sewage infrastructure can handle it. No, they're like, $900 million, go. Are they worried about the infrastructure being able to handle moving City Hall to a new location? No, because even if there was, you would just fix it. Oh, no, we can't build a new sewage pipe. Really? They never say that about their projects. They say it about this one. I don't believe you. You're not really concerned about the sewage. You're not really concerned about, this wouldn't be good for the community. You just don't like ICE, and you don't want other people hearing nice things about ICE. And to do that, you will turn away this project that will bring money to your city, that will bring a new tax base, that will bring employment, that will bring all kinds of ancillary employment. Again, think about all the people that have to have contracts to support a giant facility that's going to have over 9,000 possible detainees in there. Think about all the food service, the laundry service, the supplies, the napkins, the janitorial services. Someone has to sell them toilet paper. Someone has to deliver it. Someone has to take out the trash. It would be so good for this community, and they're fighting it. They are fighting to keep the progress from happening. Progressives are fighting progress from happening in Hutchins. No. We don't want to bring in some new tax base. We don't want to bring in employment. We don't want to bring in supplies. We don't want to bring in resources because it might make ICE look good, because it might make our political opposition more successful. Ooh, that's evil. 800-288-9227. Are you in favor or opposed to a new ICE detention facility in Hutchins? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Immigration is the hot issue of the day because it keeps popping up in so many different facets around here. We had the big meeting at the Frisco City Council just 2 days ago where a packed house was voicing their concerns about the curious change in demographics in that town. That's now 30% of Indian origin. 20 years ago, it was 2%. We have immigration being of concern over in Wylie East High School, where some Muslim groups set up a table. Why Islam? Passing out Qurans and pamphlets. You can try on a hijab. Won't that be fun? And the people who are so scared of the Handmaid's Tale think it's funny. In fact, you probably saw if you're online as much as me, you definitely saw the picture of the superintendent where she's wearing a hijab on National Hijab Day last year. Isn't this fun? Meanwhile, we're supposed to be scared of the Handmaid's Tale because look out for those right-wing Christian fascists. The double standards are amazing. And then the third story, and we're not even out of DFW yet when we come to the headlines, is this proposed ICE facility for Hutchins, and people are fighting it. Why would you fight a big development like that? Why would you fight a big contract, big resources, jobs being created all over the place? It would be a huge boon to your city, but you can't. Why? Well, because ICE is bad. Not when Barack Obama was building the largest ICE facility in Dilley outside of San Antonio. No. That was fine. That was celebrated. In fact, I have the New York Times article here where they celebrated. Yeah, Homeland Security Chief opens largest immigration detention center in the U.S. This is from December 16th, 2014 in the New York Times. Who was the ICE security chief back then? Oh, yeah, Tom Homan. But now it's the most evil thing ever. I don't believe you. Billy, Marble Falls. You're on WBAP. Hey, Billy.
Good morning, sir. I just wanted to throw an idea out there and perhaps change the name of the facility. You might get more support for it. Possibly call it something more along the lines of a government subsidized temporary housing for displaced foreigners.
Oh man, that's great. Yeah, the PR on that. That's smart, Billy, in Marble Falls. No. It's not an ICE detention center. It's affordable housing is what it is. It's affordable housing for underprivileged migrants or undocumented Americans. Oh, Billy, that's good stuff. Billy, why aren't you in charge? Why aren't you should be in charge?
Because I'm a white trash redneck.
Well, that's your first problem right there. Get off the phone, you white devil. All right, Bill in Rowlett, you're on WBAP.
Yeah, James. Did you ever hear of the Luddites?
Luddites, yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, for people that are listening and don't know, they were against industrialization in, I think it was mainly in Europe and particularly in London, in England, where they were against, this is mid-1850s or something like that. They were going to, gigantic plants and they were, spinning wheels and all this stuff. And they were industrializing, and these people were actually breaking into the buildings and destroying the equipment. So this is what we got right now. We got a bunch of Luddites. They can't stand to have any change. They can't stand any improvement. They can sit there and wallow in their own pity, but I have no pity for them.
I don't think that's it at all. Because Bill, they don't protest when they built the Dilley facility under Barack Obama. So it's not that they don't like new ICE facilities being built. This is just an excuse to make the independent third party, weak-minded people think Orange Man bad.
I agree there, but like I said, these they break into businesses all the time and they destroy things, and they're just fools. They're just idiots. I just can't get over it.
Well, I don't like being that reductive, Bill, because a lot of people that I know that are liberal are not idiots. They've just signed on to the wrong worldview, and when you do so when you're young, it's kind of understandable. You're not as smart as you are now when you accepted this worldview. But once you have been convinced yourself that you're on Team Blue, it's the hardest thing in the world especially for an intelligent person, to admit that they've been wrong their entire adult life. And these people that they've been accusing of being Nazis this entire time were right. You know how much humility it takes? You know how much self-awareness and willingness to sort of submit and admit you were wrong? You know how hard that is for these people?
Oh, I can imagine. It's when I was working, if I made a mistake, I didn't go in there and say, well, listen, it was Bill down here that did it or what. I said, yeah, it's my fault. If there ain't consequences, you put them on me. Don't put my people on my crew. And then after I get off, after they discipline me, I'll discipline the crew and tell them don't ever do that again. I'll make you walk around the truck 15 times. But I take responsibility for my actions, and you just pass it down the line.
Yeah, well, listen, if the reporting on this is what makes this so interesting, because thank you very much, Bill and Rowlett, because they're not actually against new ICE facilities. They're just against new ICE facilities under this guy. There was no protest. There was no report on WFAA where they were concerned about how the new ICE facility that Barack Obama opened in Dilley was going to destroy the neighborhood. In fact, if they wanted to actually have facts on their side, they could go to Dilley and they could say, see, we can't do this in Hutchins because when they built the big facility in Dilley, look, this is all the negative consequences. However, they didn't tell you that, which means you can probably guess there are no big negative consequences to having an ICE facility. In fact, it's probably positive. You probably don't want to go down there and ask the people of Dilley, hey, how's life since you opened this new detention facility? Because you would get something that would blow your narrative apart. And we know that because they didn't say it back then either. 800-288-9227. What do you think about having the second largest ICE facility in Hutchins? My only problem with it is why not the largest? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And we're talking about immigration is the top story of the day because it's happening all over Dallas-Fort Worth area. We've got all kinds of issues going on. We had the Muslim table that was set up at Wylie East High School on Monday. We've already had someone suspended for that. We'll keep an eye on that to see if this is just like a fake suspension or someone's really going to have their job lost. A lot of people were pointing at the superintendent because she was celebrating World Hijab Day, and that didn't really rub people the right way. You had the Frisco City Council, which was packed because people were concerned about the Indianification. Can I make up a word there? Of Frisco. And the third story, Hutchins is the site of a proposed ICE facility. It would be the second largest one, and 9,500 capacity as far as detainees go. It would create hundreds, thousands of jobs. It would bring all kinds of money and tax base and new residents and whatever. Economic development. People are fighting it. Why? Because ICE is bad. And ICE isn't bad. Tom Homan's not bad when it's Barack Obama, but ICE is definitely bad because Orange Man bad is about as far as we get. And it just drives me nuts. The double standards, the selective outrage. Whenever you leave the battlefield of rationale, I just become frustrated and shake my head. It's like, you're not making any sense. You're lying to me, and I can't stand that. I can't stand when adult people lie to me. Sylvia in Madisonville, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James, I absolutely love your show. You're such a great critical thinker.
Well, hang on a second. One problem I have already. Madisonville has the most disappointing Buc-ee's in Texas.
Well, we could only do with the money we had,
Right. Now it's still better than most gas stations, but as far as Buc-ee's go, it's really small. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not a very wealthy county. So here's the thing. This has been going on a long time. I was in about 2020, actually even further back to that in 2015 or even earlier, block walking all around Collin County. And I would go to some of these mansions in, a big builder there. I won't mention them, but very beautiful homes, over $1 million and up. And I'd knock on the doors, and they would have, people from China, India, several families living in one of those homes. And so it's been going on quite some time. And I was around that same time invited to come down to one of the border facilities, to the containment centers there. And these people don't realize, and they forget, this is not just Hispanics or Mexican or South American, Central American people. These people were coming from all over the world, funded during the Obama and Biden. It was a ruse. They were funded to get here, and then when Obama was sending back millions of them. Meanwhile, the plan was in place to bring in even more than an onslaught of them. So we couldn't even. And by the way, they were keeping people from sending them back at the same time as well. They were cherry picking which countries they wanted them to come from. But when I was there in 2015, they came from, I saw people there from the Congo, China, even Israel, oddly enough. All over the world. So these people are coming from parts of regions in the world that people can't even fathom that how they got here. Well, they got here because they funded it for years. And by the way, those protesters, I bet you a nickel to a dollar that none of them came from Hutchins. They're probably all from the Dallas area because it's all about the vote. It's all about taking back the pendulum. And if that pendulum swings back the other way, America is finished.
Well,
so we got to get that Save America Act passed immediately.
I hear you. Listen, and it's fine that people disagree, and of course there's not going to be everyone that agrees with us on every topic here, but the frustrating part is in the news. They don't even tell you how many jobs would it bring here, how much economic activity would it generate. That's how they talk about a football stadium that they're about to build. That's how they talk about a new Amazon warehouse that's about to be built, or a new school or a new library.
How about a data center? Let them swap a data center. Let's see how fast they want that.
All good points. Thank you very much, Sylvia in Madisonville.
Thank you.
Michael in Weatherford, you're on WBAP.
Well, Bud, I tell you, people been making fun of Wilmer Hutchins. Well, I'm 71, and they've been doing it back since the early 70s. You know, they're backwards. They're not hillbilly backwards. They're socially, educational, and financially backwards. And I think well, I don't have any statistics, but I think people like that are easily led to something that, you know, is harumph, and everybody just joins in.
Well, that's why we talk about the media bias so often. You know, people are like, no one listens to celebrities. No one cares what Billie Eilish thinks. No one cares what the news says. Yes, they do.
Well, they do, because they're easily led, and people they're like sheep. They'll flock together and just follow somebody that is a flash in the pan of the day. But the thing is, you got to look at them. I think you have to look at their education level and their finances and their demographics. You know, I mean, I don't have any. I think less educated people are more prone to believe in, you know, certain things that just really aren't.
I don't know.
Rational.
You say educated. Educated by who? People that go to college. The longer you stay in college, the worse your politics get. So I'm not sure if education is necessarily the answer there. But I think we all agree with the general tenor there. There is some sort of intellectual shortcoming into people that can get exercise and have selective outrage. Oh, this ICE facility is terrible. What about the other one they built? Well, that was during Obama, so that's okay. Do they not get that? Do they not get that Tom Homan got an award for deporting even more people under Obama than Trump, and there was no protests in the street? No one cared about a 5-year-old being detained. No one cared about the 56 people that died in ICE custody during Obama, but you care now. And the fact that they don't see that double standard, I don't even really know how to fix that, Michael in Weatherford, but you're making good points. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I have a fourth immigration story. This one's Plano-centric coming up next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Well, hey there, fellow Texans and non-fellow Texans. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, and the non-Texans getting a lot of attention in the news as of late. We're talking about this proposed ICE facility for Hutchins, and the reporting and the complaints and the protests against it are just so weak. It's like a tissue paper. You can just poke right through it. You know, we're concerned about the won't be able to have enough water and sewage. Yeah, that's the ticket. The building's already there. They already have toilets. They've already flushed them. It works. And if not, we can't install another pipe. That's it. Like sewage is a finite capacity, and we've already passed it. I doubt that. Did they have any problems with sewage and water when they built the larger one than it's going to be in Hutchins, and when they built that in Dilley, right outside of San Antonio? How bad did that destroy the community? How bad does Dilley hate having all those new jobs and all this new resources and wealth that came to their town? You know, good paying government jobs. Yeah, I bet they really hate that. Are they drinking bad water down there? Did all their toilets back up because they couldn't handle the sewage? No, that's not even in the report. I'm starting to think maybe you're not really just a freelance civil engineer. You just don't like ICE. And the fact that you didn't say boo about ICE when Dilley was being built, but you're saying it now tells me you're an easily led automaton that's being exploited by liars and activists in the media. Stop listening to them. 800-288-9227. The other stories almost all seem to have an immigration touch to them today, except for the City Hall one I'm going to bring up later. We talked about the school, Wylie East High School, that had the Muslims proselytizing on Monday. Someone got suspended for that. We don't have a whole lot of details, but sounds like, feels like, I should say, that they probably weren't going to do anything until we made a fuss. There's a big fuss made at the Frisco City Council meeting earlier this week about H-1B abuse and some questionable moves there. And then we have another successful win that you can chalk up here, but with a question mark. In Plano High School, they had, or in the Plano ISD, I'm not sure which high schools we're talking about here. But the rumor was a bunch of kids they were allowed to walk out unpunished to protest ICE. A bunch of parents made a fuss. Now we got a response there. And it sounds like another win. This is from Salty Tattooed Mama. I'm sorry, that's just what she calls herself on X. Her clips have been on the James Show before. I've tried to invite her on as a guest, but haven't got a response. But here's the quick 30-second rundown of this battle happening in Plano. So we've got Hutchins, we've got Wylie, we've got Frisco, and Plano.
It's funny how that policy became crystal clear after I pushed. Just 2 days ago, I was told students were being allowed to leave campus for 10 minutes for political walkouts. Now, after escalation, after questions, after media attention, there's an email. And suddenly that language becomes crystal clear. Walkouts during the instructional day are not allowed. Students are expected to remain in class. Leaving campus results in an unexcused absence and disciplinary action. But that clarity did not come out of nowhere, because emails like this don't get written unless there has been a problem.
There you go. You realize who all's getting stuff done around here? Because the people that are blowing the lid off to Frisco H-1B questionable use, if not abuse, if not fraud, it's not major media outlets. It's not the big newspapers, not the big TV stations, not even the big radio stations. It's just regular people. It's Kaylee Campbell. It's Mark Palaciano. It's Sarah Gonzalez. I mean, she's with the Blaze, so that's kind of big. And then here, Salty Tattooed Mama, getting it done. I don't even know who gets credit for doing what they did in Wylie. But your little tiny micro activism, it gets good results sometimes. Keep it up. Nathan in Dallas, you're on WBAP.
Yeah, James, all these people complaining about the detention facility in Hutchins, evidently they've never been there and seen all the truck stop lot lizards or the great big huge American detention facility that's already there in Hutchins.
That's all good points.
They hadn't seen the great big huge prison that's there in Hutchins. Heck, an ICE detention facility will improve the place. It'll make it better.
Well, of course it'll make it better. You know why? Because illegal aliens commit crimes at a lower rate than the native population, and they're more productive, and they contribute to the tax base, and they're responsible for all the progress we've had, and our economy would collapse without them. Why don't you want them in your backyard if they're so great?
Exactly, and not only that, but Hutchins also had the what was known as the boat graveyard on Interstate 20 not all that long ago. I mean, the place is the armpit of Dallas County. You know, not to speak bad
No, hey,
about them or anything, but
some places got to be it, and the people in Mesquite are actually happy to hear that. They're like, "Hey, it's not us. It's not just playing Mesquite people. I know y'all have a sense of humor, and I can get away with it." Reg in Grand Prairie, you're on WBAP.
Yeah, the fact that these people it seems to me that you've got a minority that want open borders. It's an 80-20 rule, just like Newt Gingrich is talking about. And when you have that minority vote that's trying to push the majority around, that's kind of is that totalitarianism?
No, actually, that could be the sign of a healthy constitutional republic. Because what you don't want is majority rule in all forms and fashions. You don't want mob rule. You want your individual rights to be the supreme, modus operandi of government. So like if there was a time in history when a majority of Americans wanted slavery to be legal, does that make it right? Absolutely not. So that's not necessarily a sign that you should be against it, but you're making a good point in the fact that for the people who are concerned about, there's a threat to democracy. Well, if 80% of the people are consistently wanting this and voting for this and sending representatives to D.C. and they're passing laws to back it up and the laws aren't being enforced, you're correct in the fact that that's the real threat to democracy is the fact that it doesn't matter who we vote for or who we send up there or how popular it is. They won't enforce our immigration laws, and they won't balance the budget.
Well, let me follow up. I ask people, are you for open borders? These people that are for, they're all the poor. The ICE is terrible on the poor. I go, well, I mean, and they say no. So I say, how do you subjectively decide who gets to come and who gets to stay? What's your number? They go, what do you mean? I say, well, my number is you've got these farm workers. There's a work visa for that. You maybe have young people coming in that might join the military to get citizenship. You have the H-1 visas from China, the geniuses. You want to take as many of those and keep them as you can get. But there's no logical plan for how to approach this from the other side. It's just, I sterilized bad.
And that's a very smart thing to do because it makes them think, say, well, what's your number? What is the appropriate number? Because it's not infinity. If you think infinity amount of people should be able to come here, then you just want this country to be destroyed. How'd that work out for the Indians? How do you think we got Texas? We came here in mass numbers. We didn't assimilate. We petitioned the mother country for annexation. That's how we got California. So to sit there and say, well, we should let this happen to us, and you're a bigot if you don't let yourself be genocided out, that's not a logical argument either. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Yeah, we're scoring another victory here, albeit it's just a small battle in a very big war on immigration. I'm James Parker. More calls next on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins, and they're going to be on in about 40 minutes, so stick around. They're funny guys, and then I'll come back on at 2 o'clock, and I'll be live from the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo for one last time. But immigration headlines are dominating the show thus far, and it's 4 local stories on this that in some different way have a tangent back to the immigration issue. Number one, the Frisco City Council meeting that happened a couple days ago, the fallout from that, the attention it's getting news, and we're finally shining a pretty big spotlight on a very suspicious situation that's happening in one of our northern suburbs. The Wylie East High School administration has put someone, I don't even know who, on suspension following the proselytizing of a Muslim student group and some outsiders on campus on Monday. There's a proposed facility for ICE in Hutchins that got a big protest yesterday, and it's all just such doublespeak. It rings hollow. It's not believable. It's all political. And we were blowing that out of the water. And then Plano ISD has cleaned up the gray area in their rules, because some parents were told, some students were saying that they were allowed to walk out of class to protest ICE, and Plano's like, no, we're not going to stop them from protesting ICE, but they will be punished accordingly. So are we just chalking up victories here? Is that what's going on? Or are we barely playing defense and losing this battle? Lawrence in Fort Worth, you're next up on WBAP.
My brother, one thing that's ironic to me and my wife, we both 68. We both from Flint, Michigan, third generation UAW workers. We come from dysfunctional black families. Nobody has ever gave us nothing. Not the government, not the family, not friends. Our kids are college educated. My sons are fed. My daughter's master's degree. And I'm going to tell the listening audience this. Anybody who advocates open borders or advocates for the illegals, you the scum of the earth, because in the real world, you should not be able to come here, get benefits, health care, education, housing. That takes away from working Americans. Where can a working American go in this world? Name a country where you can get education, housing, medical, and business stipends. If you name any country in the world that we can go to and get what we giving the illegals, I go there tomorrow. So when you sit down and advocate for illegals, I'm the descendant of slaves. Slaves built this country, but you got people like Jabouzi saying illegals. He's saying migrants built this country. The bottom line is this, people. Right is right, wrong is wrong, and color ain't got nothing to do with it. But if you want to talk that color, how can you tell a working black man that my tax dollars should go to doggone illegals? How can you justify that? Are you saying that we gonna give illegals everything? Well, what about reparations for black people since we built this doggone country? I'm pissed off, and I don't want no illegal in the country. Get them all out of here. They don't belong here. If you gonna come to this country, come through the freaking front door. You should not be able to come through the back door, stick your hand out, and make demands on American people. That is ludicrous. And anybody who advocates for them, if I could tell you what I really think of you, I told the politicians at the Union Hall Sunday what I thought about illegal immigration. And you know what? They couldn't even give me a logical response. So all of this hyperbole about rights for illegals, what about rights for Americans? We got rights. And if you're going to disregard my right, I disregard the illegals' rights. And I'm going to tell you something else.
Wait, there's no something else. Lawrence, that's 2.5 minutes. I got to cut you off there, okay?
All right, my brother.
Thank you very much. Because, look, he's making some good points in there for sure. But the one that I just want to stick with you from this show is the doublespeak here. Because when we talk about the doublespeak in any of these situations here, like at Wylie East, they were upset, or they were allowing a Muslim group with outsiders to come in and hand out hijabs and Qurans and proselytize to your kids in public schools. These are the same people that fight the Ten Commandments or any semblance of Christianity or any biblical teaching or any prayer in school if it's Christian. So there's obviously a double standard there. When it comes to the Hutchins facility, again, immigration adjacent, but there was no big protest about the Dilley facility. They're not telling you about how that facility destroyed that town. They weren't against it when Obama built the largest facility that we have, the Kids in Cages facility. That's the one. There was no protest then, but we have protests now. Double standard. What's going on there? The kids are allowed to walk out in schools right now to protest ICE. Really? Can your kid ditch school and go to the lake without being punished? Oh, no. So there's a double standard there. Frisco City Council, that meeting early. Double standards are all over the place. So I just want to reinforce, Democrats used to support immigration enforcement. These are all flashbacks.
Democrats used to believe that border security and immigration enforcement were just common sense ideas. Don't believe it? Take their word for it.
Americans are right to demand better border security and better enforcement of the immigration laws.
We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked.
We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders. It has become an extraordinary problem.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country, and we must do more to stop it.
Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Any city should listen to the Department of Homeland Security. The city made a mistake not to deport someone that the federal government strongly felt should be deported.
Just because your child gets across the border, that doesn't mean the child gets to stay.
We do not think the comprehensive health care benefits should be extended to those who are undocumented workers and illegal aliens. We do not want to do anything to encourage more illegal immigration.
People say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants from coming here? And the number one answer we give is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud.
Illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple.
Open borders. You're doing away with the concept of a nation state.
Our nation, like all nations, has the right and obligation to control its borders, and no matter how decent they are, no matter their reasons, the 11 million who broke these laws should be held accountable.
For decades, these weren't controversial or radical ideas. The only thing that changed is them.
So all those things now, if you say these things out loud, you're literally Hitler. Coming up next, the absolutely brain dead, probably brain damaged debate on whether or not we should tear down City Hall. I can't believe this survives critical thinking scrutiny for 5 seconds. You'll hear that next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. The proposal to demolish City Hall is the dumbest idea we have going on in Dallas right now. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. I'm not saying that to be sensational. This is one of those emperors have no clothes moments to where it almost makes me want to pull my hair out that everyone doesn't see this. You can think about it on your own individual level. If you had a house that needed a lot of repairs and money was tight, what would the most sensible thing do? Find out what the repairs are, make them, boom, move on. If there's a whole lot of repairs and someone says, well, it would be cheaper to just build a new house, what would you do? Well, you would probably build a new house, and then you would turn around and you would at least attempt to sell the building. And if there were no buyers, then of course it's going to have to be torn down, but you would at least attempt to sell it, or at least find out, or at least list it, or at least get some estimates. But if you were tight on money, the first thing you wouldn't do is say, well, we'll just tear this one down and build a new one. It doesn't make any sense. And all the excuses they give are terrible excuses. Well, this building is, past its prime. It's past its time. Time to get a new one. Time to get a new one? I'm older than that building. That's one of the youngest buildings downtown. What's the average age of one of them buildings downtown? How many of those other buildings, the skyscrapers and whatnot around it, are older than City Hall? They're doing just fine. They don't need $300 million worth of repairs. And that's a real suspicious number too. But the reporting around this is suspicious. The claims that they're making are suspicious. The numbers are suspicious. The giant increase in the estimate on how much the repairs would cost, very suspicious. Now they're saying, well, we're just going to do some independent report, and it's going to come back and say exactly what they want it to say. Oh, this would be better for the taxpayers. It would be a great economic development if we could use this property for something else. Oh, stop it. No one should buy this for 5 seconds. This is the dumbest debate going on in Dallas right now. Here's a report from WFAA this morning.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining Preservation Dallas for this tour of City Hall.
A sold-out tour of what some call a worn-out building, a claim others say is without merit.
As the sun sets, one of my favorite views of this building is how our City Hall is lit up at night.
Preservation Dallas organized this sunset event for people to capture the history.
What is brutalism, really?
And find the beauty of Dallas City Hall.
So being able to have this building designed by I.M. Pei is very important, not just because it's a geometric design, because this was also his first civic building.
City staff said it needs hundreds of millions of dollars in repairs because of maintenance put off for years. Some council members have already declared it makes financial sense to move out and let developers, maybe the Dallas Mavericks, take over the land. Not this council member.
I am very optimistic, guardedly optimistic, that the numbers will come back showing that not $500 million, but well under $100 million will be quite sufficient to restore City Hall to its original condition.
A report due in less than 3 weeks should offer clarity on costs. So get ready. The City Hall debate is about to significantly heat up between those who say its best days are in the past and those who believe there's a future ahead.
Anybody buy that? Who buys that? I can't believe this just goes out there and floats out in the media like it's not a dumb thing. Here's what we should do. We should tear down this building that's not even 50 years old. Build a new one somewhere else. What? Why wouldn't you build one on the same spot? Why wouldn't you? And then there's a giant blank spot of unused downtown real estate that's about 3 blocks to the east of where City Hall is now. If we wanted a new stadium downtown, we could build it there. There's a big open spot on the other side of Reunion Tower too. I know some of that's going to be taken up by the new convention center and the parking for that, but we could build a parking garage and make it happen. There are 18 other places in Dallas that would be better than the City Hall location for the Maverick Stadium. In fact, that is one of the last places we should put it. Because one thing they don't include in the debate here, City Hall's paid off. We're not fronting a rent to anybody for that. We're not making a mortgage payment. We're not paying off the municipal bonds on that. We have a paid off building. If you had a paid off house, how much sense would it make to tear that down and build a new one? Issue new bonds, get new debt? Would that really be what's financially smart? Of course not. And it really is that simple. Steve Weatherford, you're on WBAP. Hey, Steve.
Good morning, James. As a former certified facilities manager, I would challenge them to create a statement of work for the renovation of the existing building, put it out for competitive bids, and when the numbers come back, it will make the city council and those who want to tear it down and build a new one look like idiots.
Well, of course they should do that. Steve, you're absolutely right. And the reason they're not doing that is because that would tear down their ability to issue $1.2 billion worth of new contracts.
Agree.
Yeah. This is all just a front so they can have a whole bunch of spending. And if there's a whole bunch of spending, they can control where it goes. And the people on the receiving end of that are going to reward the people who give them these contracts. And that's what it's all about. And it's just so naked. Are we not tired of, like, every year people go into any political position, whether it's in City Hall or Austin or D.C., they just come up with new reasons to spend tons of money that don't make sense?
I'll bet you an ounce of gold the demo fees alone would cover the renovation of the building's issues.
Yeah, right. That's a good metric right there. I like that. Well, I appreciate that. That's a great call, Stephen Weatherford. If you have any comments on this stupid City Hall debate, it really is that dumb. It really is that dumb. You have a paid off house, you're going to tear it down and build a new one because this one has some pipes that are busted. It's brain dead. And it's corrupt. It's obvious. It's an obvious lie just so they can funnel money to their donors and politically connected people. And some of that money is going to come back to them because there's $1 billion at stake for corruption. Coming up next, the terrible story of Savannah Guthrie's missing mom. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Dude, have you heard this Savannah Guthrie mom story? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. What a horrifying situation this is to be in. Savannah Guthrie, she's on NBC. What is she doing, the Today Show these days? Her mom's been missing, and her mom's 84, and her mom needs medication, and there's evidence that there's forcible entry, and she may have been kidnapped, and we haven't heard anything, and it's been days now. She missed church on Sunday, and here it is Thursday, still no word. No even sign of life. Here's a terrible update from our news partner, WFAA, on the story.
Today's Show anchor Savannah Guthrie just spoke publicly for the first time.
She posted a new video with her brother and sister making an emotional plea for their mother who's gone missing.
Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again.
Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old, and detectives think she was abducted from her home in Tucson early Sunday morning. Savannah also addressed the ransom note sent to local TV stations that investigators are trying to verify right now.
We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk.
Guthrie says it's important they know their mother is alive and someone has her. ABC News reports the FBI is deploying more agents and experts to help support search efforts near the scene.
Oh my God. You know, losing your mom's got to be tragic, but not even knowing whether she's dead or alive, you're just in constant, I don't know if my mom's dead. So it's just constant suffering for this poor lady. Just constant suffering. The not knowing is probably worse than her actually being dead and you knowing. Because now you're going to do all this suffering to find out what? That she's probably dead in the end. So you're going to go through that terrible, tragic, traumatic experience. In the meantime, you're adding in this extra traumatic experience. It just stinks. It's just god awful. And I can't think of a good way out of this one. Like, what's the best case scenario here? She's demented and she wandered off and she's just dying slowly from the elements. Jesus. Because if she went out and she got hit by a car or something that was quick, we'd already know. Was she kidnapped and they were going to hold her for hostage, and now that she passed away, that they're just going to not tell anybody anything? Because all it will is give evidence to lead back to the kidnappers? There's supposedly a ransom note. This could be anybody who's just taking advantage of the situation. Hey, it's been 4 days. Let's tell them to give us some Bitcoin and see if we can get away with it. Just awful. And the awful part is the limbo. The awful part is the absolute lack of closure. All right, I'm going to end today's show by playing you a whole almost 3-minute segment here. Reason.com. It used to be Reason Magazine. Now it's a website. They did a review of California's minimum wage hike. You know, they hiked minimum wage for most fast food workers. And now that we've had a little bit of time to go back and see how well it did, you find out it didn't go well at all.
What happens when the minimum wage goes up? Well, California is getting an experiment in that right now. Just ask Gavin Newsom. California wanted to make sure fast food employees earn their fair share, and that's when 557,000 workers across 30,000 restaurants got an economic reality check. AB 1228 implemented a government-mandated pay raise for all fast food workers from $16.21 to $20 per hour. The bill requires annual wage increases of 3.5% and creates a special fast food council within the government. This council holds the power to set fast food wages until January 1st, 2029, when the council and its authority allegedly end, because government programs always end. And if you're worried about this impacting your favorite restaurant, well, casual dining restaurants, buffets, smaller fast food chains, donut shops, snack shops, grocery stores, concession stands, most delis, restaurants within a grocery establishment, restaurants connected to an airport, hotel, event center, theme park, museum, or gambling establishment, and Panera Bread are all exempt from the law. Apparently, there's this weirdly specific exemption for restaurants that sell bread as a standalone menu item if it weighs at least half a pound after cooling. And Gavin Newsom pushed for that. You see, Gavin Newsom went to high school with Greg Flynn. Greg Flynn owns the Flynn Restaurant Group. They own 2,300 chain restaurants across the U.S., and they're the second largest Panera franchisee in the world. Flynn has donated more than $220,000 to Newsom's campaign since 2017, and $100,000 of that was to defeat the recall. So for some totally unknown reason, he really wants this guy in office. When called on this eyebrow-raising exemption, Newsom said the deal is part of the sausage-making process.
I mean, that's part of the sausage making. That was part of 257, the original bill, and there was part of the negotiation. It's the nature of negotiation.
So maybe he'll exempt meat shops next. After the bill passed, Assemblymember Chris Holden said,
"The rest of the country is watching what's happening in California."
And yeah, that's an understatement. 1 year after implementing the so-called FAST Act, we are finally seeing its effects, and they are exactly what you would expect. Rubio's Coastal Grill closed 48 locations across the state, Mod Pizza closed 5, and Pizza Hut laid off all 1,200 delivery drivers. In total, fast food employment decreased by 2.7%, which cost California 18,000 jobs. How much do you make per hour after being fired? Restaurants replaced employees with digital kiosks, and those who did keep their jobs saw their hours decrease by almost 2 months per year. AB 1228 is such a disaster, even CNN admits it's debatable job numbers. At the same time as Gavin Newsom's California lost fast food jobs, the sector has grown in the rest of the nation. To be fair, though, Newsom is responsible for some exceptional growth. Fast food prices are up more than 13% since the law took effect. So, are Californians finally waking up to the unintended consequences of minimum wage hikes?
Yes. Remember that, because they're going to try it here again. Maybe not today, maybe not next month, maybe not next year, but they're going to try it again. And there's going to be one side that says, well, this will help poor people. And there's going to be people on our side, the free market capitalists, that are going to say no. 18,000 people lost their job. The real minimum wage is zero. I hope everyone understands that. The real minimum wage is absolutely nothing. And 18,000 people learned that the hard way. For the few people that stayed in that industry, they had their hours reduced. They're not making more money anyway. However, everyone else in California is now paying 18% more for the same fast food compared to a year ago. It's exactly what we tell you is going to happen. All right, stick around. Mark Lee Van Camp and Robbins is coming up next. I'll be back on from 2 to 5 at the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP.